we're finishing off the Maimer today. It's about it's like 5 classes we did already. There's one point that I was trying to understand, which I guess we'll try to understand together. But in short, up until this point, we were talking about the essence of Chasidus. Right? What is the essential driving point of Chasidut? And what does that mean for us? So we spoke about in the beginning that Chasidut has many special effects on us and effects on the world. We spoke about that Chasidut took this Jew's state of unconsciousness to consciousness. It helps us achieve serving God through beyond the letter of the law. We're able to understand things which are seemingly out of our scope of our intellectual level, and so much so that we could understand it on every level, physically, emotionally, intellectually. But what's the essential point of Chasidut? We said was Or Ein Sof, which we then went on to explain that the Or Ein Sof in Chasidut is the level of our neshama called Yehuda, right? Which we also compare to Mashiach. So Mashiach is also the Yehuda, the oneness. And to explain what the Yehuda is, we went on to talk about how we have many levels to our soul, 4 levels to be specific. And that could be compared to the emotional level of our soul, the physical level, the intellectual level. But the Yehuda is above all that. It's not an extra level, it's the essence of our soul. So the essence of our soul, the Yehuda, penetrates through all aspects of it. It penetrates through the intellectual soul, the physical soul, the emotional soul. Oh, so we're talking about the Yehuda, the essence of our soul, which is compared to the Mashiach. And we say that there's 4 levels to our soul, and the essence of those 4 levels is the Yehuda, the 5th level. And then we said we can see this applied also in the way we study Torah. Because the way we study Torah, we can study it based on our 4 levels of our neshama. So we can study Torah on the simple level of our neshama. We can study Torah on the next level, right? And those 4 levels was the Pshat, Remez, Drush, and so the simple. Go for it. Okay. The simple, the hinting level, etc. And then there's the Yehuda level, which doesn't add onto each one of those, but it gives us the essential or the Hasidic glasses through it, and we're able to see something much deeper within each level of understanding, right? So we went through Moda'ani, just to summarize for those who weren't here. We went through the example of Moda'ani, right? And just to go through some of the examples, on the simple level of Moda'ani, you have that. Why do we say Moda'ani before we wash our hands? We say because technically our hands are impure, and we want to thank God right when we wake up. So we wash our hands. So we say a blessing before we wash our hands, but we don't say God's name in it, because we're not allowed to say God's name. Then we have the Hasidic explanation within, with a Hasidic perspective within the simple way of learning Moda'ani, which is that reason we say Moda'ani without God's name before washing hands is not because we are impure. That is a technical reason, but the deeper reason is because there's some parts of our soul which can never be contaminated, which can never be impure. And that's why we talk to a specific level of God which doesn't have a name, which is the essence. I think the simple level of Moda'ani brings out the point of Yehuda a lot more than the other levels, at least the way I understood it, right? Because it's laid out very clearly. We're saying Moda'ani because we're talking from the essence of ourself to the essence of Hashem. Because the essence of ourselves can never be asleep, and the essence of God can never be contaminated or touched. or he could rip up the four-letter name of God, God forbid, huge, terrible sin, but it's possible. Right? The God's name Modani, which is not written down, can never be destroyed because it's not there on paper. It's much deeper. It's the essence. Right, that's why I think we spoke about the Ten Commandments. When Hashem gave the Ten Commandments, the first word he used was Anochi, right, which was from an Egyptian word. Because the real essence of God is not defined by names or letters or combinations. It's much greater than that. That could reach the essence of ourselves. And that's what we concluded with last time, which is that where do we see the essence of Hashem being played out? Where do we see it actively being done? Is in the lowest physical ways. We said the beginning comes out in the end. Just like when God created the world, he created people last. Because the purpose of creation was for people, and therefore he created us last after everything. So too, if we want to see and we want to experience the essence of Hashem, we want to experience the essence of ourselves, then we have to, the way we will find it are in the most physical, human ways possible. By studying Torah, by being in the synagogue, by doing holy things, those will connect us to Hashem, no doubt, on very high spiritual levels. Right? The more we learn, the more we think, the more we have intention, the more and more we will connect to Hashem on deeper and deeper levels. But when we are in a place of being pulled to do something wrong, pulled to something negative, and we feel like we have no chance of overcoming it, and at that last moment we pull ourselves away from it, and we do the right thing with superhuman powers in our own way, that is when we touch the essence of ourselves. And that's why, like I said, that there's countless stories of throughout the generations where people were not religious to say the least. They were opposed to Judaism, opposed to religion, and when the time came for them to choose between life and physical life and giving up their Judaism, something out of nowhere just pulled them to choose their Judaism, choose their faith, because it wasn't out of nowhere. It was actually the deepest part of them. But the deepest part only come out at the lowest moments, at the hardest, most testing times. And so I think that brought us to chapter 18. It's more outside. I'll read a little bit, but I'll explain. We spoke about as well how when we wanted to learn what was this process in the Marmor, was when we wanted to find out what was the essence of Chasidut, we said we have to look into the reward of the Chasidut. And we said, what is the reward of Chasidut? Is Mashiach. And then we understood, if the reward of Chasidut is Mashiach, what is Mashiach? Yehuda. Mashiach is compared to the Yehuda, then the essence of Chasidut is Yehuda, the essence of our soul. It's the oneness. Sorry, the one driving point of Chasidut is this level of Yehuda, which is greater and also within everything that we learn and experience. And what did we learn about in Mashiach that gave us this insight? It was a story of the Baal Shem Tov, who was the founder of Chasidut, who approached Mashiach himself, who encountered Mashiach, and he asked him, when would you reveal yourself? The Hebrew word is Emasai Kasimar, for Aramaic. When will the master reveal himself? Or when will he come? And the master, Mashiach, answered, when you spread my well springs outward. And seemingly it might be a little superfluous, right? You just say, when you spread my well springs. Or you could have said when you share Chasidus, when you say Torah thoughts to other people. What's this idea of outward? And the outward is the actual point which we're understanding the whole theme of Chasidut and Yehuda to be. Because our goal is to define what is the outward part of us. What's who I am, and what's the parts which are trying to pull me to their side, right? I'm conflicted. Am I a good Jew, or am I my outward side? Am I my outside, my chutzah? And our job is to spread our well springs, spread Chasidus to the chutzah, to these specific parts outwards. And that's why the Chazal, the rabbis say that Hashem said, I created the Yetzer Hara and I created the Torah as a spice to it. You heard that before? What's the meaning of spice? Spice is something that makes something good, makes something sweet or sour, but it makes a food from plain to good. Why is the Torah helping the evil inclination? It seems a little odd. It should have said when the Torah, God created the Yetzer Hara and then created the Torah to destroy the Yetzer Hara. Also, why is the Torah coming after the Yetzer Hara? Like the Yetzer Hara was created as the goal, and then the Torah was created as an addition to take care of the Yetzer Hara, right? It's the opposite. The Torah is a divine wisdom and oneness of Hashem, and the way we understand it is that the Yetzer Hara is the evil inclination is what's testing us to see our commitment to the Torah or to see our connection to Hashem. So why do the Chazal, why do the rabbis say that? Why do they ask, why does God say, I created the Yetzer Hara and I created the Torah to be a spice for it? Right, especially they also say that somewhere else that God regretted making the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. So we spoke about how the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, has two parts of it. There's the evil, which is fighting you from doing good to do evil. You want to do something good, it's pushing you to do something evil. It's bringing you and pulling you to do something bad. That part of the Yetzer Hara, true. We have to stand up and break it, destroy it. The Yetzer Hara wants me to do something bad, I'm going to destroy it, I'm going to break it, whatever it means in our personal life. We all know our Yetzer Hara, but when the moment that it's trying to pull me away, I break it. However, there's a level of godliness or holiness which we define as revelation, right? Or just the fact that with a level of godliness that we could define what's good, what's pleasant, what's proper. And in these forms are the forms that you have to destroy the Yetzer Hara. To be more clear, anything that you can define as good and bad, the good has to destroy the bad, right? So, like we said, if you're struggling between going to synagogue on Shabbat or going to the movies, right, then you have to destroy the idea of, or destroy the idea, or also the plan to go to the movies and go to the synagogue. However, on a deeper level, Hashem is not defined. The essence of Hashem is not defined by anything. And in this undefined, infinite level of Hashem, the evil is not in opposition to it. Because Hashem in itself, in its essence, you can't even call it good. Because good is a definition of something. Good is limiting Hashem. If you call him good, then he's only this good. He's not that good. He's good, and he's also not strict, or he's also not. Hashem is everything. Hashem is not only everything. Hashem is above all these levels. So when we're referring to the essence of Hashem, the simple essence of Hashem, then evil is not a opposition to it. But when the essence of Hashem is summoned into confrontation with this evil, it doesn't just deal with the evil things that it's doing, but it deals with its root, and is able to transform the root of the evil to be good. Right? And that's what we spoke about, unrelated to the Ma'amar a little bit, is that the Yetzer Hara, we said that the Ra could come from the word broken, right? And when we look at, on the surface, yeah, the evil inclination is doing something evil. It's trying to get me to do something evil. When we look on a deeper level of it, when we examine it truly, we understand that the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, is talking to us out of a place of brokenness. And when we're able to define that brokenness within us and repair the brokenness, then we just kind of like went over all the bad. We went over all like the little details of fighting good and bad. We said, no, let's go to the root. The root is that I was hurt. I had a bad experience, and I'm able to overcome that by turning that evil, turning that brokenness into something whole. And where do we get that power from? Where do we get that ability? That is from the Yehuda. That is from the essence. And that is truly what Chasidut is. Chasidus is, in its essence, the ability to tap into our oneness with Hashem, to tap into this level of oneness which is higher than any form of definition, and to understand that bad isn't bad. Bad is brokenness that can be fixed with Hashem, with the Yehuda, with the essence. And essence is not, the Yehuda ourselves truly are not defined by any form of definition at all, especially, and how much more so with Hashem. Is that fair? So, the Ma'amar goes on to talk about how there's two main aspects of Chasidus. I'll read a little bit inside, but you don't need to have a book. It's in chapter 20, if you have one. It says the two special aspects of Chasidus and of the Torah in general, namely, number one, its penetration into all levels of the four levels of the Shama, until it also affects the animal soul and the world, which is what we're just talking about, right? The essence of our soul penetrates all other levels of our soul until it also affects our animal soul and our other side. And two, the second aspect of Chasidut is the expression of its essence only through its effects on the animal soul and the world. And we said the Chasidus, the Ma'amar goes on to explain how you can see this manifested in a practical halakha, which is that in halakha you have, when it comes to the laws of acquisitions, there's many different forms of acquisition, right? There's obviously the form of acquisition which is holding something and picking it up, and giving someone money is a form of acquisition. Taking it, there's many different laws and rules, and then there's the form of acquisition which is your chaser, your courtyard. So if something falls into my backyard, it's considered mine. Right? My house is acquiring things for me. However, if that's only if my yard is closed up. If my yard is open, then it has different rules. Because I have to, if my yard is closed and I'm not there, I'm out of town, if something falls into my yard, it's literally as if my yard is my hand. It caught it for me. But if my yard is open, there's no gate, then we say that if I am present and I see it or I'm around it, then my yard, my property will acquire it for me. But if I'm out of town and my yard is open, my front yard, it goes like onto the street, people are walking right by it and someone sees something on the grass, they're allowed to go down, pick it up and take it. Because I'm not there, it's not considered in my domain. Now, kinyan chatzer can also be applied to someone who is not physical property. So we say that if I am, you see that my 4 cubits around me, my 4 tefachim, my 4 amos around me, are considered my property. Why is that? Because when a person like reaches out their hands like this and that, it reaches approximately 4 amos. So if I want to give a marriage, if I want to give a divorce, and it falls into the 4 cubits of my wife, it's considered valid because she acquired it through her property, which is the 4 amos around her. There's a lot of discussion and instances, but in general, if something falls into the 4 cubits around me, I'm allowed to say this is mine without holding it, without touching it, and someone else cannot come and grab it because it's as if I already grabbed it through my property. And in a way, it's even the kinyan chatzer, the property acquisition of your 4 cubits around you, is even stronger than a literal property, which is acquiring things from you, if it's unfenced, right? Unfenced property, it's literally my property. I own the property, I paid for it. But if I'm not conscious around it, or if I'm not seeing it, then someone can take it. But my 4 cubits, someone can throw something behind me, and I don't see it, I'm not aware of it, but it belongs to me, right? So in a way, my 4 cubits are even more powerful than my property itself.
So it's interesting that you say that, because not long ago there was a baseball game and the little kid tried to catch the ball and he caught it, and a guy sitting a few, maybe 10 feet away, rushed over and grabbed it out of his hand. And long story short, the guy ended up losing his job, and the kid got to sign the autograph by the player, and so it completely reversed, which is similar to that. The ball was his, it was in his area, but the man took it. And he's the one that really suffered.
Yes, I mean, here, even if the ball fell on the seat, on the kid's seat, and someone else might not be able to grab it from the seat, right? Even the seat actually paid for, so that actually might be a big reason.
But that's
if it fell like in the floor in front of him, we might be able to say that it belongs to him. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Remember that story?
An interesting conversation. But the sages only appropriate a person's 4 amos bin only for the purpose of acquiring an object located in them, and not for any other purpose. So, for example, for theft, it doesn't require. It's not for every purpose, only for the purpose of acquiring an object. So we see, now even though the acquisition of objects through the mode of 4 cubits is based on the reason of kinyan chatzer, it is nevertheless superior than kinyan chatzer for the reason that, because in the law of kinyan chatzer, any property that is not enclosed or supervised does not acquire the object for him until he declares, my property acquires this object for me. In acquisition through the 4 cubits, however, one does not have to say my property acquires. Furthermore, the 4 cubits acquire objects for a person even without his knowledge or desire. But this superiority of the 4 cubits requires explanations. Since the entire mode of acquisition through 4 cubits is based on the reason of kinyan chatzer, how is it then possible for the acquisition through 4 cubits should be more powerful than kinyan chatzer? That's the question. If the laws of acquiring something in your 4 cubits is based on the law of acquiring something in your property, and how now does the laws of your four amos have superiority and acquire more than your kinyan chaser? So the explanation, however, is that one's yechida radiates and extends throughout his 4 cubits. But we're connecting it to the deeper part that we were talking about before. Therefore, his 4 cubits, can acquire objects for him without either his declaration or knowledge, because on the level of yechida, knowledge and intelligence are immaterial. The extension of the yechida into the 4 cubits, however, is for the purpose of acquiring an object, acquiring a physical object that is outside a person. A person's faculty in all its 4 levels of nefesh, ruach, neshama, and chaya, corresponding to the 4 cubits, are themselves unable to elicit and reveal the level of the yechida. It is only when these powerful powers are engaged in purifying some physical object, which is outside the person, which corresponds to the acquisition of the object into one's domain, in order to refine and to purify it through using it for the sake of heaven, then, and only then, does the aspect of yechida reveal and manifest itself in these faculties. We compare the physical case to based on the spiritual level of yechida, but saying that our nefesh, ruach, neshama, and chaya are parts of our neshama which are definable, which we're able to define, are only able to define things within us, are only able to affect things within us. In other words, they're able to affect the things that we can relate to and we can believe that we are in power of, that we are able to acquire. We believe we're able to acquire, we believe that we're, able to study this amount, a half an hour of Torah a day. That's how much I can acquire for myself. So the nefesh, ruach, neshama, and chaya, our neshama can pull us and help us achieve that level of studying Torah, which we feel like we're able to acquire, which is within inside of us, right? And so too with any other subject, which is keeping kosher, being kind to someone. I can only be this kind to someone. If someone does this to me or that to me, I'm done. I can't deal with these kinds of people anymore. The yechida is able to acquire things which are outside of us. It's able to say that no, even something which is outside of me, I'm not aware of, or I believe is not part of me, is not in my domain. I can't be tolerant to someone like this, or I can't study Torah this much or on this deep of a level. The yechida is saying, no, I'll acquire it for you. The essence of ourselves is saying, no, these things are actually acquirable for you. It says, the Rabbi explains that this additional 4th cubit corresponds to the 4th level of the soul chaya and yechida. I'll read this footnote. I think it's interesting. So, you say in Masechus Eruvin that one's body is 3 cubits and 1 cubit in order to acquire. The levels of the soul which are closed in the physical body are only the 3 levels of nefesh, ruach, and neshama. And it corresponds to 3 cubits around us. The 4th cubit, which we can acquire outside of us, which is in addition to the length of the body, but because why do we say 4 cubits? We say that's the length of an average person's body when they spread out. It's 4 cubits by 4 cubits, but say technically it's only 3 cubits by 3 cubits. So where does the 4th one come in? The 4th one, which is in addition to the length of the body, but is connected to it, for the idea of this cubit is in order to extend arms and legs, and in order to pick up an object which is under his feet and place it under his head, is a category which is in addition to the nefesh, ruach, neshama, the close encompassing level Chaya. Right, so we were always putting 4 levels of the soul in one category, and the Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya in one category, and then the Yechida into a separate category. However, technically, it's really the 3 levels of our soul, Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama, and then the Chaya and Yechida, the 4th and 5th level. So we say that based on Parsha Shemot, in Sefer Shemot, on Shabbat, it says, "Let every man remain in his place. Let no man leave his place on the 7th day." The sages decreed that one is allowed to walk no more than 2,000 cubits from his place. As found by his home on Shabbat, he may walk this 2,000 cubits in any one or several directions, and even walk back and forth several times up to the 2,000 cubit line. How once he passes beyond this 2,000 cubit point, however, he is only allowed another 4 cubits. He can neither walk backwards nor further than these 4 cubits. Right? You know that? It's a law in Shabbat that we're not allowed to walk more than 2,000 cubits out of our home or out of our hometown. Mm-hmm. It's only really referring to if it's like an empty plain. Mm-hmm. Where there's no civilization, there's no homes, people not living in those 2,000 cubits. But once you pass out past 2,000 cubits, then you have another buffer zone of 4 cubits, which you have to stay inside of. You can't go back, can't go further. You're kind of like in this little spot. And the Talmud gives an explanation for these 2 cubits, which is, number 1, his body occupies a space of 3 cubits, and 1 additional cubit is allotted to him in order that he may extend his arm and legs. And number 2, the additional cubit is allotted so that he may pick up an object which is under his feet and place it under his head. So the Rebbe explains that this additional 4th cubit corresponds to the 4th level of the soul Chaya. Chaya and Yechida are both transcendent aspects of the soul and not closed in physical body. Right, so to compare it to the spiritual level that we're talking about, the 3 cubits around us is compared to the 3 levels of the soul. The 4th cubit is compared to the level of Chaya and Yechida, which is transcendent. Chaya, however, is called Makif, a curve, a transcendent level, which is nevertheless still close and related to the other 2 levels of the soul. Yechida, on the other hand, is Makif, or Rochuk, so distant from the Nefesh of Neshama Chaya, utterly transcendent and cannot even be classed as their source. As explained in chapter reading, considers these 2 levels of transcendence, Makif, Akar, and Makif, Rochuk, are explained through an analogy to the difference between the encompassing nature of a garment and that of a house. Garment is Makif, it is not part of but rather surrounds a person, yet it is also curved close to him, molding itself to the contents of the body. A house is Makif, Harachuk, is entirely surrounded and encompasses him, but has no relation to his body whatsoever. For therefore explains the 4 cubits in the jar. So it's interesting, the getting a little esoteric here, but the 2 additional levels of the soul, the Chaya and Yechida, are the 3 basic levels of our soul. I think are compared to usually as a general soul, like the physical soul giving us life. This the intellectual soul and the emotional soul. But the other 2 souls are transcendent souls. So we say the 4th soul, the Chaya soul, which is transcendent, is a way of close transcendence, like a garment. I put my garment over me. It's outside of me, but it's close to me. It's tailored to me. Because my garment won't be able to fit someone who's a child, right? And a child's clothes won't be able to fit me because it's both clothing, it's both outside of us, but it's tailored specifically to you. But a house, on the other hand, is it's called a distant transcendence, which no matter how big a person is, could generally fit inside the same house, right? Because it's surrounding us, but in a more transcendent way. So we went a little off topic there, but the point is we're talking about the level of Yechida within us, the transcendent level of godliness, is allowing us to reach things, reach potentials which are out of us, which are out of our imagination, what we can achieve. the last chapter, page 102. Considering all that we discussed, it is most fitting that the preparation and vessel for the coming of Mashiach is precisely the disposal of the fountains abroad, spreading the well springs outward. That is the way to bring Mashiach. And hence, the preparation and vessel for this revelation is to spread the fountains outward into everything, down to the very lowest level, the chutzah. The essential nature of the fountains of Chasidus is expressed specifically when they are spread and extended to the outside. Right? Because we said that where is the essence revealed mostly? Where is the essence revealed? In the furthest place, in the outside. Indeed, for as long as the well springs are found only inside, their true nature is not yet expressed. And since the preparation and vessel for the coming of Mashiach is the essence of Chasidus, it is therefore imperative to disseminate the fountains specifically outward, until the outside too will be transformed into well springs. For through this, the essential nature of the fountains is manifest. Then the Master comes as King Mashiach. Mashiach will come when he sees that the outside is a home for him as well. When the things which are not tailored to look as a home for him are being created to be a home for him. Just to go back to this idea of Anochi, I love that. It's one of my favorite talks of the Rabbi. That how do we connect to the Ten Commandments? What's the deepest part of the Ten Commandments? The first commandment, right? I am Hashem your Lord. I am Hashem your Lord. It's 3 words. I, one name of God, another name of God. So of those 3, the first one must be the greatest. The second 2, I won't even say it because it's God's name. The first one, I'll say it 1,000,000 times. Anochi, 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 right? It's because it's so deep that it's not defined by any words. And it's so deep too that it's an Egyptian word. It's from the most immoral country that existed then. And the way we can reach the deepest part of Hashem, the way we can draw down the essence of Hashem is through the darkest and deepest parts of ourselves, the parts that we never imagined can be turned over to good, the parts that are so outside of us, and so, come to shul, leave that part back at home. No, bring that part. That's the part that you need. That's the part that's going to connect you to Hashem. And when we transform these parts, the chutzah, that's what brings Mashiach. And we do it through Yehuda. In the words of the Alter Rebbe, then the gashmias, then the physicality will be purified, indicating that there will be physicality, but it will be purified. We don't say that physicality will become not physical anymore. No, there will be physicality by Mashiach, but it will be transformed. It will be purified. And the light of God will be shined forth through Israel without any garment. From the overflow of the illumination on Israel, the darkness of all nations will also be illuminated. As is written, and all flesh shall see together. And all the inhabitants of the world, as Alter Rebbe explains there, this culminating fulfillment of the era of Mashiach and all the resurrection of the dead is contingent on our works and service throughout the duration of the exile. For what causes the reward of a commandment is the commandment itself, that the true and complete redemption may be speedily in our days. That's the Ma'amer in short, but I think it's nowadays people ask it less and less, but the question is always, why do we need Chasidus? Why do we need to study Chasidut? We have so many books and so many. We have the Chumash, we have the Talmud, we have the Mishnah, the Gemara, which are all things that we must and should study. We have so many explanations on that if we study all of them all day, chances are we won't even get to finish it for our whole life. So why do we need to have Chasidut? What's the point of studying this? And why do we need to study it now if our great-great-grandparents or Moses and the generation of in the base of Mikdash we're not studying it. So why all of a sudden do we find it so important to study? And the point is because we are in the generation of Mashiach. And when we're in the generation of Mashiach, we have the responsibility to do the last things to bring Mashiach, which is, like the Mashiach said himself, to spread the well springs outward. In other words, you want to bring Mashiach, you're the last generation, our job is to find godliness and to express godliness into the things which are least apparent to be doing so. And that is done through studying Chasidus. Chasidus gives us power to tap into our Yehuda, and when we tap into the level of our Yehuda, when we are conscious and aware of the essence of our soul and who we really are, then we're able and have the power to transform and purify things which we never have thought would be able to be transformed. And through that, bring Mashiach.